All right, guys, so we're back, and now we're ready for to finish with our Photoshop document that we were working on before. So what we're gonna get into, I just want to make sure that so we talked about the toolbar in a separate video, the workspace in a separate video. We briefly went over it here, but I want to make sure that we get through the stuff that I have that we're gonna go over. So we briefly talked about resolution. And next thing we're going to talk about is going to be masking. Okay. So actually, you know what, though, because we're in here. So I want you to notice in your layer panel, there is this square, right? So there's the image and it has a square. What that is that's a smart object. Okay, that's telling you that this is a smart object. See the little square that's in the bottom right side? Smart objects are so cool, and there's so many videos on them because they do way more than what we even touch on. But in a sense, in a nutshell, a smart object is like a container that protects your file. So you know how you have paper and it starts to rain and you want to get something to protect it. So you might do one of those plastic sleeves that goes on it, or you might put it inside of a notebook, inside of a book bag, or you try to put it inside of something sealed so that you can protect it because you don't want it to get messed up. That's essentially what a smart object is. So what that means is digitally that, oops, I am so sorry, my alarm. Okay, anyway, what that means digitally is that the digital file, right? So if you work in Photoshop, your main file that is in a smart object is protected. It's not going to let you do anything that is going to manipulate pixels or that is going to damage that file. Everything that you do is non-destructively done. Okay, and that means that you're not destroying pixels. That means when you close that file and open it back up, you have the options of changing it and manipulate it and taking whatever you did to it, revising it. Okay, so that's in a nutshell what smart objects do and how it protects your file. Advantages and disadvantages. When you have a smart object, because it's protecting the file and you're doing things on top of it, it takes up more file space. So it's a much larger file. So if you have a whole bunch of smart objects, you're probably looking at it taxing your computer's memory and resources a lot. Okay, so those are the things to keep in mind. But that file is protected. And something that we'll do probably later on is when you look at smart objects, so the smart object is protected no matter what. So you resize it. If you resize it smaller, and then you decide to go bigger, then you go smaller, and you go bigger, it's going to maintain the pixels that it has. If you do that with a file that is not a smart object, it loses those pixels each time you shrink it and increase the size, or shrink it and increase the size. So that's another thing with smart objects, but we'll go into all of that a little bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into masking, and I'm trying to see what photo I'd want to do that with, because we don't have a lot of time to do in-depth masking. So I'm definitely not going to do it with hair, that's for sure. So I think we'll mask out maybe, this would be an easier mask out, except for when we get into the stars. But I think I'm going to go with, let me see, maybe this one, maybe the hearts. And there is enough contrast that this will be there's an easier way to do this, but I want you to see how to do this with the brush tool. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna hide everything else. I'm not gonna hide the layer below it. I'm just gonna hide all the other layers. Okay, all right. So making sure I'm on the layer that I want to mask. So when we talk masking, what is masking? Masking means that same thing that on Halloween, when you decide that you're going to be a different character and you put on a mask and you're hiding your face, it is the same concept. So you're hiding the areas that you don't want them to see. You're not hiding your body all the time, but you hide your face when you wear a mask. Sometimes your eyes are revealed. So that's an area that you don't want to hide. So you don't have a mask on those areas. Sometimes your ears are showing. That's an area that you don't want to hide. So you won't have a mask on that area. So pretty much you are masking out areas that you want to hide. With masking, white and black is how we mask completely. White shows, so white reveals, right? So anything that's white is going to be shown, and anything that's black is going to be hidden because black hides, black conceals, right? So, right, white reveals, black conceals. White shows, black hides. Okay. So what we're gonna do is so with that concept, if we wanted a mask to show everything, what color would we use? Think about that for a second. I'm gonna give you a second. And I know you had the right answer. I know you said it. I know you said white, right? White would be how you would show everything. Cool. So smart of you. So awesome that you said that. So we're gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure that the hand is selected, the one that I chose. And if we look over here to the left, we're gonna see our default, right? It says black and white. If yours does not say that, then click right above the black and white. You're going to see this little icon right here. Just click that and it's going to take it right back to black and white. So for instance, if I had, don't do that, I'm just showing you. If I had something different and I wanted it to go back to the default, I would just click on that and it clicks it to the default, right? So the black's on top, the white is on the bottom. Speaking of that, this is foreground and background color. So this is the foreground color, which is black, and the background color is white. And these are the default. So I have the default color set. So now what I want to do, making sure that I have the proper layer selected, I'm going to click on the mask. Now the other thing, well, not yet, but anyway, I'm going to click on the mask. Okay. So now the mask came in and it's white. Oh my goodness, what did we just talk about, right? So we said that the white shows all, right? So white reveals. That's why nothing has disappeared. See that? So we created a mask. I'm going to do that again because I feel like I did it super fast and I want to make sure that you got it. All right. So making sure that our proper layer is selected, I'm going down, right? So I'm in the layers panel. I'm going to go down, and in my layers panel, I have these icons down at the bottom. The first one is for effects. We'll get to that eventually. It's a layer effect. And the second one, this is the mask, right? So this is how we do a layer mask. We're going to get to the rest, but just quickly, this is how we set an adjustment. This is the half moon. This will be how we'll add an adjustment layer. And then this folder is how we can group stuff, group layers together into one layer to work as one. And then we have the plus, which is how we can add more layers inside of our layer. And we have the trash can, and of course, that is to toss stuff. Now over here, Anyway, over here, you'll see this little link. And what that link is, that will link two layers together so that no matter what happens, those two layers are joined at the hip. So if you move it, the other one's moving with it. So it's very useful. It's not highlighted right now because, as I said, two things, right? I only have one thing selected. So what would I link, right? You need at least two things to be able to link. So that's why it's not highlighted. But if I were to hold command and select another layer, then you would see, or control if you're on a PC, then you would see that the link is there for me because now I have two items and I'm able to link it. But I don't want that. I just want one. All right. So I have this layer selected, right? And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a layer mask. So, and the layer mask looks like a camera, or a square with a hole in it. But I always say it looks like a camera. So I'm going to click on that, and that added a layer mask to my layer. So now I can use this mask to hide or reveal certain parts of the image that I want to show or that I want to hide, right? So clicking here, right? On the mask, making sure the mask is selected. And the way that I know the mask is selected is if I look around it, there's this white box that's kind of broken up in between. You see it in both centers, right? Horizontal and vertically, right? So I know that white box. So just the same as I click on the image, notice that white box move to the image. You guys see that, right? So I want to make sure that the white box is over the mask. Okay, with it over the mask, what I can do now is several things. I can go and I have this brush tool, right? So this is my brush tool. Just scroll down. Let's see, for me, it's what, 4, 6, 8, 9 tools down from the top. But scroll down, you'll see the brush tool. If you hover over that, you'll see that there are other options in there, like the pencil tool, which is amazing for drawing. Color replacement tool, which is amazing with color, and then the mixer brush. But we just want the brush tool. So just click on the brush tool. Shortcut for that is B for brush. When you click on that, you're going to get this circle. This circle represents the paintbrush hitting the paper. If it were a paintbrush, if you wanted to increase the size, several ways you could do it. You could go up here to the top and you can click on the little arrow, and then you could increase the size here, right? There you go. That's one place. You can also play with the hardness if you want a harder brush, or if you want a softer brush or what have you. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it at 0 hardness for now, but just know that you have that option. And then another way that I could do it as well, there's one other way, but we won't go into that for now because I'm on a Mac and on a PC and it's different. Those keys are different. All right, so I'm going to go, I can hit my left or right bracket, and the left or right bracket are located right next to the P on your keyboard. So you have the P, and then you have the left bracket. Next to it, you have the right bracket. Okay. No need for shift. We're talking about just the regular bracket key. So and at the top of the bracket key is a curly brace. So we just want the bracket. So if I hit the right arrow, I'm increasing the size of my brush. And if I hit the left arrow, I'm decreasing the size of my brush. Okay. So whichever one works for you, go for it. I'm going to make sure that I'm on white, and I am. And now here's the deal. I'm going to start painting. Why is nothing disappearing? So weird. I'm painting. Why isn't anything disappearing? Anybody know? If we look in my panel over here, and I know one of you guessed it, if we look at my panel over here, you will see that I'm painting with white. Well, if my mask is white, and if we know that white reveals, and I'm painting with white, then I'm really doing nothing, right? Because the photo is already revealed. So what I need to do is I need to switch the foreground and background color so that the black is on top. 2 ways I can do that. I can click on this little arrow right here. See this double-sided arrow? I can click that, and that's going to switch the colors for me. Or I'm going to switch it back just so I can do this. Or I can hit X on the keyboard, the shortcut, and that'll switch it for me. Now, when I do that, notice when I start painting away, now I'm able to paint away into the background. You guys see that? Were you able to do that? Were you successful? I'm going to undo. So again, my mask is white. If I want to do the opposite of that, then I need to make sure that the color is the opposite, right? So my mask is white, so I need to make sure that my foreground color, which is the one on top, is black. If yours is not, then click on this little dual-sided arrow and make sure that the top, which is the foreground color, is black. Once you've done that, you will be, and making sure that the mask is selected, you'll be able to come over here and you'll be able to take out whatever you want to take out. Now I'm going to increase the size. I know I said it in the first video, but that's going to be Control++ for those of you on a PC, or Command minus for those of you, Command plus for those of you who are on a Mac. Now, another thing that I want to do is I want to move it around. Notice I hit Command++ and I made it larger, but now it's too large for me. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. This is just telling me it's auto saving. It's too large for me. But I don't want to make it smaller. I kind of just want to move it around. So what I'm going to do, and this is universal, is I'm going to hold the space bar. When I hold the space bar, I get the hand. And what I can do with the hand is grab the mouse. And then at that point, I can move it around. Okay. So again, if that was too fast, let me go back. I'm going to hit Control or Command plus, right? So I want it about this big. But what I'm noticing is now I can't really see the top and I need to move this around. So I'm going to hold the space bar. I get the hand. The hand tells me, ooh, I can grab this. I'm ready to grab. So now that I have the hand, I can move it down and move it into place. Okay. And that's all pretty much I did. So hopefully you guys were able to get that. What I'm going to do is start to just erase out the areas that I don't want. Now, I'm not going to do a perfect job again because I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. This is one of the things that I'm very, very particular with. So I do take the time and make sure that I mask out each and every piece. But I'm making sure that I get this. So I got, the brush, and I'm getting rid of these areas, in between the hand. So this is painting. Now I'm doing this with my trackpad, which I told you was new. And I just got it. But you know what? I'm all about challenges. And this is going to challenge me because if I pick up my Wacom, which is awesome, then I would do a really, really good job. And that's not what I'm trying to do right now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and so pretty much I'm just brushing away. So I'm kind of painting away this mask. Okay, so that's one way to do it. I'm going to undo a couple of times all the way back to the beginning just to show you another way that we can do this. Okay, another way we can do this as well. So that's how you brush away the areas. And the brush, it's still one of my favorites, but we do have other options, just so you guys know. So I want to make sure that you know about all the options that you have. So another thing that we can do is we can use our selection tool. So we can go up here to the lasso tool and we can lasso our way around, like make a selection. It's kind of like you're free-handing it, Like I said, I'm working with this trackpad, so this is not going to be pretty, but that's okay because I want you to see a struggle. But anyway, okay, let's just say I had that because I'll do that all day. All right. So let's say I was happy with this. I went too far back because I don't have a mask anymore. Hang on. Let me go ahead and get my mask. All right, making sure I'm on the mask. Okay, so if I do the lasso tool and I just make a rough selection, let's do that. I can do that. And then I can also paint in the mask, right? And I'm going to hit B, shortcut key at this time. And then I'm going to make the brush a little bigger because now I have a bounding box to keep me from outside. So I could just go in and I can make a huge brush and just go in and notice it's not letting me outside of that bounding box because what the selection tool did was it made a bounding box, which is awesome, right? So I could do that as well. That's one way. I'm going to Control Z that. Okay. So that's one way I can do it. Another way is to just play with these tools. These are the selection tools. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the polygon lasso tool, if I had straight shapes, I could also hold modifier keys, which are like your shift and alt, to have other things happen. Like this can actually work just like the regular lasso tool as well. But I can make straight shapes and I could then use that as a mask if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that, but I just want to show you that that can be done. I can do the magnetic lasso, and as long as there's enough contrast, this does a pretty good job. What this does is it looks at the contrast or the difference between what you're trying to select out and its background, and it tries to make a clean selection. But it doesn't always. Notice how I can't grab that part. So typically what I would do is I would hit a point, let it go back to it. So all I did was click, let go of the mouse, click. So the way that this tool works, let me undo real quick. So I don't know if I went over that. Okay. So the way that this tool works is you're clicking and you're pretty much just rolling along whatever the edge of your object is and letting Sensei, which is Adobe Sensei, artificial intelligence, letting it go and find the edges or detect the edges for you. And then what happens is if it doesn't do a great job, like right here, I'll let go so that it makes a point, and then I'll go back into it. So you don't have to hold the mouse. I just like to. And I'm going to click on the trackpad because that was another area that was tough. This is the area that was tough for it. And I'm just going to go through with the magnetic lasso and let it do its thing. Okay. And it's not perfect. None of these tools are, but it, it does this thing. So that's one. All right. So we have the magnetic lasso. Play with these tools. I'm telling you, just play with them. Then you have the new object selection tool, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to go into that yet because I want us. I have an idea what I want to use it. All right. So the quick selection tool. What this does, again, if you have enough contrast, is you can click one time, and that's all I did, and it'll go through and try to find the areas that you want to capture. Now, your brush size does make a difference, and things like that, and the contrast between the background and the foreground make a difference. But just know that you can click, just like if I click outside of here, and it does its best to pick between the foreground and the background. Notice the darker hands, it picks up the contrast a lot more than it does the lighter hands, because there's less contrast between the pixels of those. So I'm going to hit Command D for that, but I just want to show you that. Also, the Magic Wand tool, the way this works, you have to have enough contrast, but pretty much similar, except for you can't just one click and it's going to grab stuff. It will, but it grabs like a lot of other stuff. Notice the difference in accuracies between the between the Magic Wand tool and the Quick Selection tool. I forgot the name for a second. All right, so there are definitely some differences. And also, the way that this works is tolerance. So this tolerance goes from 0 to 255. Yeah, so 0 to 255. So if I select 255, guess what? I select it all because that's all the colors in this document. And if I select 0, I select none because that's no colors in the document, right? So your tolerance is set based off of, you want to set the tolerance based off of how many colors you have. Also, you want to make sure that, or how much contrast you have inside of the colors. And also you want to make sure that, minimize that a little bit. Well, too far. Um, so you want to make sure that there's enough contrast between the foreground and the background that you're trying to select. So if I change the tolerance to say it was at 32, that's what it defaults at. Let's say I change it to 10. You'll notice we have a much different selection than we had when we had it at 32. So let's say I'm like, let me change it to 20. Oops, 20. Let me click. Okay, it's selecting a lot more, but its edge detection is much better. It's still off. It's still off. So if you don't have a lot of tolerance, this is not the tool for you to use. So just keep that in mind. You have to have enough. And if I go out here, it's getting a little better. Go out here. Let's press our luck. Go out here. Okay, cool, 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 cool. And if I wanted to, another thing too. Let me hold shift. Let me click here. Is all right. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So outside of the hands, this is working wonders. Let me see. So this might be my go-to for this, but I use a variety of different tools, because you just never know which tool is going to work for you. And then here's the deal, though. Let's say I wanted this, and let's say I get the brush and I hit delete, or I'm going to get the brush. I'm just going to do one big, because it's my favorite. One big brush, right? So I take out the area, right? But if those hands are important to me, I already know that pieces of them were cut off, and that's going to be huge, right? That's huge for me. I don't want pieces of my hand cut off. Like if I go and I hit Command D, which is to deselect, or you can go to select and go down to deselect. So either Command D, which is a shortcut, or select and deselect. Wait, didn't I select? Sorry, select, deselect, and then it'll deselect it. But here's the deal. Let's zoom in. I'm gonna hit Command or Control plus plus. Notice this is very choppy, right? It's really cutting into their hands. It's cutting into arms. It's cutting into, and it's just not smooth. So that is definitely not the way that I want to do this. All right, so I'm gonna undo. And really, I could actually like just delete the mask, and we'll get into all that a little later. Oops, I went too far, guys, too far. All right, let's see. Command D or Control D to deselect. So another option is, oh goodness, there we go. If I wanted to, where is it? Where is it? Lost my tool, guys. I lost my tool. Oh, there we go. Nope. So, funny story. I got a new desk, and I have the monitor is way on the other end. It has a large diameter, so I really can't see. Let me see. Where is my tool? Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. I'm so used to seeing the magic wand on top, or the yeah. Okay. All right. So then the other tool, this object selection tool. Click on an object, and I click here. It's gonna go through. It's gonna do its thing. It's gonna. I was like, I hope I didn't kill my computer. Okay, so it tries to select the object. So notice how it didn't select the center of the circle. It used AI to try to select just the hands that were, that are a part of the foreground. So that's really cool. It has some work to do. It wasn't perfect, but that's kind of cool. Just knowing that it can do that. So I'm gonna hit Control D, and the next tool, which is kind of cool. This is where we get into fun stuff. I should do that one first. I'm gonna do this one. The select subject tool. So I'm gonna click that, and it's gonna do its thing. So what's essentially happening in the background is it's trying to figure out what the foreground is and what the background is. And look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. So it actually selected. Now, like I said, it's going to be rough. There are areas, but this is still much better than what we used to have. But there are areas. You can't just do this and think, oh, I'm done, because you're not. You're never going to be done. It's never going to be perfect, but it is really, really awesome and such an improvement. But if we look in here, we'll see where the areas aren't perfect, like right here, and then in here, here we're cutting off part of her hand and stuff like that. So you do want to keep in where. So what I would do, though, in those instances, let's say I use the mask and I went back too far again, but that's okay, because this is another way you can mask too. If you select first and then mask, you can do it that way as well. So many ways you can do that. So with this selected, I'm going to go, I'm going to click on mask. And then it's going to take out the area, right? So what I did was with this selected, so I selected first, and then I got this how I wanted it, and then I clicked on the mask from the layers panel, and then it masked it out. Okay, too cool. All right, so what I would do quickly, because we still have a lot more to go through. Okay, what I would do is I'm gonna go to the side, see if I can find her arm that was cut off. I think it was this arm. I think. All right, I'm gonna hit B for brush, making sure that I'm on the mask. I'm gonna increase the size just a little bit. Caps lock isn't on. My in brush. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, that's why. All right. So remember, I made my brush super large. I have it at 500 pixels, 5,000 pixels. So right now it was taking out everything. So I'm gonna bring that down. Let's see, maybe, and maybe 17. Okay. So what I would do is I would paint back in that mask. Remember, black hides, and what I want to do is I want to bring back some areas. And so I'm probably going to want to switch. Shortcut key is X, or I could click on the toolbar, the dual-sided arrow, either way, and I'll just paint in different areas. But see how I'm painting in pieces back of her arm. I'm also grabbing some of that background. I don't know that. I do. But I'm grabbing in pieces of her arm. And then, like I said, I'm pretty meticulous. So it would definitely take me a while to go through and make this as perfect as I want to make it. But this is pretty much what you guys are going to do. You're going to make it perfect. You're going to work those, okay? So if you want to bring an area back, you're going to make sure that you're painting with the opposite color, which is white. To take areas away, you're going to make sure that you're painting with black, okay? And then remember the shortcut, there are two. There is white reveals, black conceals, white shows, black hides. Okay, it's pretty much just the same thing, just said in different ways. Okay, so we went over that. Let me undo, and then so the other thing that I want to go over with you guys is, am I drawing a blank? Where are you at? Okay. I can't. So anytime there's another tool up here, I get this one confused. All right. So I'm going to choose the quick selection tool. Okay. Quick selection tool will do it. And what we want to see up here is select and mask. So if you click that, what this is going to do is take you into a select and mask dialog box. It happens so fast, you don't even know it's happening, but it did. Notice I had, so yeah, select and mask. So I have this first tool, which is, it defaults to the quick selection tool. So I can select like different areas. Or I can go to the refine brush tool if I had, hair. I could go to the refine brush tool and it will refine the hair edges, or I could go to our simple brush tool. But notice there's also this object selection tools in here, the lasso tool, the hand tool, and the zoom tool. So I'm going to go to the brush tool and I'm going to paint. Now I'm trying to paint, and why is it not painting? Any guesses? I think one of you guessed it right, but we'll see. So, oh, look at that. I didn't even clean up that mask. But anyway, but if I go here and I start painting, notice I can make things happen, right? Because I forgot about a mask area, right? So if I go here and I go to overlay and I start painting, right? I can start painting. So I needed to make sure that my view right? So I'm going to click here, just paint this stuff. And so I'm masking. It's kind of like masking in reverse. But I needed to make sure that my view, that I'm seeing something. Where I defaulted looked like I was on onion skin. So if I go to marching ants, I can actually see the selection happen. If I go to overlay, I'll see like a red overlay over it. If I go to on black and on white and so forth and so on, so that I can see the mask. So you have options of how you want to do this, but I'm going to hit Command D because that's not what I want. And I'm going to choose, let's do overlay. Overlay is like my favorite. All right. And then let's say I want to get rid of this area. I can mask it out. That. Okay, kind of like I was doing over on the other side. Me and this trackpad, I tell you, not quite sure if I like it yet. I'm probably gonna go get me a mouse, but I'm trying to like it, guys. I'm trying. All right. So in any event, you can come in here and it pretty much like isolates all the other tools to where all you're doing in this panel is working on masking, right? So you're focusing on, and that's horrible, don't worry about it, but you're focusing on setting up your mask. So this is what you can do in here. And then you can go in and you can improve, like, you can change the color, like if you want it blue or something like that. You can improve your edge detection. You can improve the radius of the mask. What else I want to go over? I don't mess with these too much. Smoothness smooths out the mask for you. Remember how we had those rigid ends? It'll smooth it out. Feather will soften it. Contrast will look for the contrast in the mask. Shift edge will move your edge over a little bit in whatever direction you tell it to. But let's pretend this is beautiful. And then we'll go to output settings, and then we can output either to layer mask, which is typically what I do, or you can output it to a selection. So I'm going to keep it on layer mask. You can have it remember the settings so that it knows it next time, and then choose OK. When you choose OK, what comes over here is this layer mask, right? You guys see that? With the link. See, it's linked. So layer mask is linked to the layer. So it's linked to this layer. And you can still do further refinements if you need to. Like if I needed to go to my brush tool, making sure I'm painting with the correct color. And if I want to reveal some more of this, maybe I want to reveal the hands, I can, so that I can see the hands around the heart or what have you. But just know you have options, which is kind of cool. I'm going to delete this because I don't want it. That's horrible. But anyway, just know you have those options there for you. So I'm going to minimize this. I just do it this way. Because my stuff's getting in my way. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I thought you could delete it. Never mind. I guess I'll just go down here and delete it. Oh, listen, I'm working on no sleep. So I'm trying to delete an artboard instead of my mask. So not good. Let me unlink this. Let me put this to the trash. There we go. Hit delete. There we go. I can't get to it because I have my screen so big and my wizard, my menu keeps coming up. I have it set up genie style. But anyway, so sorry about that. But anyway, so what was next? I have masking. We went through all forms of masking. We went through selecting pretty much. These are the selection tools for quick selection. magic wand, object selection, masking. Let me look at what's next in our we went through selections, masking, workspace, smart objects, shapes. Okay. So we also have, let's just suppose with this image, you only wanted a certain part of the image. So let's go down here at the bottom. These are our shape tools. If you hover over it, it's going to tell you what each shape tool does. But let's say we want the rounded rectangle. All right, so I'm just clicking on the rounded rectangle tool, and I'm just going to click and hold the mouse and draw, and then draw the shape. Okay, so I just drew out the shape. This is the rounded rectangle. What you will notice, though, it is a vector shape. Notice this little square at the bottom. So it's a vector shape. So that means that this is rescalable, right? It's not really pixel based. It's a shape that we just put around or on top of an image, and it's on its own layer. And like I said, it's vector based. And the difference between this being vector based and the smart object is the little icon to the right. So they both have these icons. Their icons are both square, but this one has like paths and points at each corner edge, and this one just has like a little image and another image inside of it. So right, showing a container. So that's the difference in these two as far as the symbols. How you know the difference in the layers panel is this. But in any event, so we have this shape, so we can make shapes this way. Another, and notice it comes in around a rectangle. Make sure you're naming your shapes. I'm gonna close that. I want to show what else I can do. Okay, so with that, what we can also do is we can clip things inside of our shapes. You're gonna say, what? So if I hover over in between the layers panel, right? And I hover and I hold Alt and I click. What happened that you don't see anything happen is I just clipped this rectangle into this photo. Sounds cool, except for that's not how it works, right? Your shape has to be underneath because you're clipping something into the shape. Now it works opposite in Illustrator. We'll cross that when we get to it. But you're clipping shapes into a shape. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to hit Control Z. So I'm going to show this shape just so I can show you what happens. So now the rectangle is underneath. So the shape that I'm trying to clip something into is underneath, right? So the rectangle's underneath the fireworks. So if I hold Alt and I hover in between, if you hover in between layers while you're holding Alt, you'll get this down-facing arrow and a square. What that's saying is clip into. So if I click on that, now I have clipped the photo into the rectangle. You guys see that? I'm going to undo that. Crazy, right? I know. So I'm going to delete that. And now what I want to show you, so you can do that with all of these shapes, the same, but the custom shape tool is everybody's favorite. So if I hover over the shape tool and I hold the mouse down and I click on, go all the way to the bottom where it says create custom shapes, it looks like nothing happened, but it did, my friends. It did. So with that highlighted, I can go up to the top and you'll see like some shapes. You see that? Like this little shape thing. It says shape and it's got this black little shape in here. If I click the downward arrow, I will see like different groups that I can go look and see if I want a shape from. So I got wild animals. Maybe I want a bear. Maybe I want, I don't know, I want something. So I'm going to click on the little bear. And then what I need to do next is, cancel. What I need to do next is I'm going to draw out a shape. That. Right? I'm going to draw out a shape. And so I just drew that shape. And right here is, I said bear. So I can't see. But it's a tiger. But anyway, so I just drew out this tiger shape. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clip that image into this tiger shape. So I'm going to hold Option, click on my drop down arrow, go right in between the layers, right, that I'm trying to unite, click it, and now my fireworks are inside of this tiger. Very cool. I'm so thankful that they named their layers because I would have been saying bear and it's not a bear, it's a tiger. But anyway, and that's new with the grouping. Typically, uh, on my older photoshops, all I have are everything is in these black squares. So they grouped it. So that's pretty cool. I like that in the update. All right. So what I'm going to do is undo that. That's not what I'm trying to do, but just know that you can do that. So that's the custom shapes and the shapes. I just want to make sure we go over that. Um, All right, let me bring back the tiger shape so we can do the next thing. All right, so let's say I wanted to give this tiger shape a stroke, right? Right now, the feel of this shape is the image, right? So that's what I filled it with. But let's say I want to give it a stroke. If we go down here, so I have the tiger selected, and if I go down here to the FX, and I click on that, and I go to stroke, you guys see that? So I pretty much just made sure the tiger was selected, click on the FX, right? That's down here in the layers panel. And then I chose stroke. So I'm gonna click on stroke, and then I'm gonna make the color outrageous so we can really see it. It's black now, but I don't know, we can see that black pretty good. Get a little red. All right, and I'm gonna make the stroke something crazy. So what happens is I clicked on it, I clicked on stroke, and now my layer style dialog box came up. And with the stroke, I have more options. So notice I made it that darker color, which I don't like. Probably gonna do yellow. It's always my go-to. There we go. I don't like that either, but hey. All right. So I just set a stroke. I clicked on color so that I could pick a color. And that's all I did to get the color for the stroke. And I went to the size and increased the size, and that's why my stroke is so large. So right here where it says size, I just increased it. So I got something that I was happy with. And then we have these positions. So right now it's positioned inside. I want it to be positioned outside, so I'm going to choose outside. That way it's not taking away from my fill. It's pretty much just on the outside of my fill. That I'm a little happier with. I can play with blend modes. We'll talk about those in a moment. Opacity, all that fun stuff. And I have other options I can play with in here. So I definitely encourage you guys to play. You have options with patterns and all sorts of cool stuff. But I'm hit okay. And so now I have a stroke. And like I said, the fill is pretty much the image, but I can do a fill on this, but it's too easy. So if I choose another shape real quick, just so I can show you. And I choose this shape. Well, whatever color I put on the inside of the shape is going to be the fill. So let me, right now I have that shape clipped. Let me take it out. Okay. So it's white. So it's filled with white, right? If we go up here in our menu panel, you can say the fill is white. If I wanted to change that fill color, I can come down here and choose, I can go up here to where it says fill, click in the color area, and then just choose another color. So let's say I wanted a pastel color, like a pink, right? So I just changed the fill, and if I wanted to change the stroke, I could do that just easy. And let's say I go and I choose like a color like, I don't know, dark. And then I choose red maybe. I could go in and I can boost that stroke up a little bit. And so now I have a stroke. I could boost the, by using the scrub, I can scrub to a different size of the stroke if I wanted to as well. So now I have the stroke and I have the fill. So that's pretty much the stroke and fill. Delete that, and then we did brushes pretty much. Okay, yeah, we're actually almost done. So if I wanted to, let's go back to our tiger. If we wanted to add like brushes to it, watch this. Let me hit B for brush, and I'm gonna go to add it. And oh my goodness, it won't let me paint over this. What? I can't paint over it. It won't let me paint over the pixels. You know why? Anybody remember? It's been a while. If you said it, you are spot on. It won't let us paint over it because it's a smart object, and the smart object protects the pixels. Doing the brush would be destroying pixels, so we're not going to be able to do that. But where we can use the brush, if we go back to our main layer, right, and then we choose the brush and then start painting, right? So now we can do it. So I made undo. I went back to the main layer and hit all the layers. I clicked on the brush and I'm going to make it a little smaller. And then I'm going to say start. Oh, trackpad. Maybe I'll type hello, right? And I'm doing it with the brush. And yeah, So with the brush, we can paint with the brush, but not on a protected layer. That was an example of how it is protected, which is awesome. And that's what we want. We want it to be protected. So sweet. All right. And then the next thing that I want to go over before we go into the next video. Oh, sweet. So actually, we are ready to go into the next video. If we wanted to save this and export, we'll do that in the next video. So for now, this one's good. When we get to the next video, we'll really get into whatever type of composite we really want to do. All right. I'll see you in a few.